You'll still be allowed to legally own these things, yes. However, these things you will not be allowed to legally purchase or buy if you don't already own them. From what I understand now, they're grandfathered in, so you can have these now, and until the law is imposed on us, you will not be able to have those. So that's why I'm making this video, to let people know, because a lot of people don't know that what's coming. You will not be able to buy anything, because you already, from 2013, you can no longer buy the standard capacity magazines. So if you didn't buy all these in 2013, well, you're 12 years too late now. If you want a standard capacity magazine, you can't buy them. The criminals have them, but the working class, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens can't have those. Small capacity magazines, these were a joke to me at the point. An AR-10 that only holds 10 rounds, an AR-15 that only holds 10 rounds. This was a joke 12 years ago when everybody was buying these things as fast as they could. These were just a joke. It was like, why would you want a little tiny small capacity magazine? Well, now that even small capacity magazines are going to be a commodity, these have gone up in value here in Colorado. So small capacity magazines, yes, buy as many as you can now. You still will be able to buy some for the foreseeable future until the next law comes into effect, where the next law is going to state that this small capacity magazine is going to become a high capacity magazine. I think that's the direction that they're going to be going next with the next law for next year, because they have to one-up themselves each year. These small capacity magazines, they were happy with us. These are my AR-10 10-round mags. I've got an AK-47 10-round mag. So as long as we have the 10-round mags, we can go up. They did a decree back in this 2013 law that we could go up to a 15-round magazine. So this is the biggest magazine we're currently allowed to buy in the state of Colorado. 15 rounds was all good. Let me just change that. It was all good. This is my little 10-round Taurus mag. So all of these mags were good. They were happy with us to have these types of mags. These you can still readily buy in the state of Colorado. So if you do want to buy these, you can still buy a 15-round magazine. This is still allowed as of April of 2025. You can still buy these. However, a new decree by the governor has been signed into law. It has passed both the House, Senate, and been signed by the governor. So pending any Hail Mary legal victories, it looks like even these small capacity magazines will now be banned in the state. With a caveat. I know there's a caveat. Oh no, it's not completely banned, but for the most part, for hardworking, law-abiding citizens, small capacity magazines are pretty much banned. If you got a lot of time, a lot of money on your hands, you can go through all the classes and you can still buy the small capacity magazine firearms, semi-auto firearms that'll hold up to 15 rounds. You still will have a pathway, but the pathway is going to be even more expensive than it currently is. Instead of one universal background check and one excise tax and one luxury tax, in addition to your normal exorbitant sales tax, you're going to have to pay for 2 classes. You're going to have to pay for an extra background check through the sheriff's office, an extra $200 fee, an extra $200 tax stamp here, an extra $200 tax stamp there. So essentially, for a working class person who's living paycheck to paycheck, trying to make your mortgage, trying to work some overtime to get a little ahead, it's going to be very difficult to pay for. Back when Magpul was still in Colorado, I ordered this directly from Magpul, paid top dollar for this thing. This was expensive. This box full of Magpul PMags, I got it, the date is April of 2013, so that's right before our magazine ban went into effect. And this is back when Magpul was still in Erie, Colorado. So I have an original box of Magpul PMags that I have not even opened. And most of these, most of these mags are still in their original case when I bought, or in packaging when I bought them too. I bought a lot of mags back then when they were about to die. That's what they do when they ban something that's a right and turn it into a privilege. That makes the price go up exponentially. Costs us working class people tons of money. I had to work tons of extra overtime at the hospital because of that, but I've still got my Anne Frank collection, nice and safe. And of course, what I had to buy also, which I didn't have at the time, were a bunch of AK mags. At the time, it was really tough to get AK mags. These are Tapco magazines. So I got these Tapco mags. They're out of business now, and got them in the original case, Tapco Intrafuse. Tapco Intrafuse. Tapco Intrafuse. Okay, there we go. So I got a bunch of these. This was all I could find at the time. I couldn't find any type of steel magazine. I couldn't find Magpul P-mags at the time, so I just had to get what I could get. So loaded up on the AK mags as well. So there we go. That is my Anne Frank collection. I've kept them hidden away. Don't spend any of your money on revolvers, lever actions, or bolt actions now. So stop buying those right now. Buy every semi-auto with a small capacity magazine that you can get now. And then once this law has been enforced upon us that we no longer can have semi-autos, then start collecting your revolvers, your lever actions. They are trying to send us back to the Old West, so we will be able to then buy. I'll just carry my my 6-shooter Colt 6-shooters on each side, Colt 45 long Colts on each side of my hip, and then my lever action 4570 on my back. Until the Colorado legislature decides that revolvers and lever actions are assault weapons, you can't have those anymore. Then when we get to that point, then I'll buy as many of those as I can too. So I personally have never been a fan of the AR pistol. I would never have thought I would own one of these. I just thought they were kind of a novelty item. I'd rather have an AR-15 rifle rather than AR-15 pistol. However, now that they are going to be banned, you won't be able to get these any longer in the state. So, yeah, it makes perfect sense. So if you were thinking about an AR pistol before, your time to get an AR pistol is, your window of opportunity is closing, and your time to be able to purchase any of this stuff is closing quickly. So work the overtime you can now to be able to buy that, even if you have to use your little dinky small capacity magazine in there. That at least is something. Better to have this with a small capacity magazine than with no magazine, or to have the magazine with no rifle. Either or, you're out of luck. So little dinky small capacity magazine. These were a joke 12 years ago when I had to buy as many of these as I could. What am I doing here? I had to buy as many of these as I could because these were being banned in the state completely. So we all went out and bought tons of these. I've got my Anne Frank collection because of that. These will have to stay with me the rest of my life. I can't sell, trade, donate, or pass them on. So they're going to have to be buried with me, I believe. So yeah, if you want to get the standard capacity magazine with your AR pistol, you're 12 years too late. In the movie Red Dawn, the Russians parachuted into Colorado and were taking over the towns, enforcing communism on us and totalitarianism. Now we have the Colorado legislature doing the same thing to us. We didn't need the Russians or the Soviets. At the time it was the Soviets. The Soviets came in and took over Colorado, and we had to fight the Soviets with our whatever we had from our Second Amendment rights then. Now, now we've got the Colorado General Assembly is taking the part of the Soviet Red Army. For those of us who had a little foresight back in 2013 and bought these Tapcos back in the day, the Tapcos look great on here, and all of your grandfathered in magazines you can use on these. So this is a Riley Defense with an awesome muzzle brake on there. Completely American made in North Carolina. So if you've been dragging your feet on this, now's the time to buy, because it's going to be now or never, because you will not be able to bring these into the state anymore. You will not be able to buy them in the state anymore. I've got a bunch of magazines that are standard capacity, but illegal to be brought into the state of Colorado anymore. So actually, these are still legal. This is an SR40 mag, so I do have some 15 rounds in here as well. But the 17 rounds. 17 round SR9 mags, yeah. I've still never owned a Glock. This is a Glock 22 22 round magazine. Glock magazines in here, Happy Sticks I think they call them. I've got a 10 round shotgun magazine for a Sega shotgun, which you can't even buy that shotgun in the state anymore. And if you could find it, it was so expensive. So I've got a bunch of mags in here that may not ever be used, but they are standard 17 round mags, so they will stay in the attic in the shoebox with the rest of my Anne Frank collection. So remember, my fellow Colorado residents, buy it now while you can, and we'll hopefully stave off the communist legislature and overturn some of these horrible laws they've enforced upon us, and get rid of the opium dens of Denver and the fentanyl drug cartels that terrorize our streets now. And that is it.